You're all very welcome. Thank you for joining this live. Today's topic is what keeps interrupting me, identifying the hidden patterns that break leadership consistency. And stewardship, in brief, is what has been entrusted in your possession. How do you nurture it, teach it, maintain it? How do you ensure continuity from you to another? How do you build beyond you? First, build inwardly before you go out to build anything. I've taken you through the journey of this process of a leader, from rediscovering a journey in life where we are. We go to school, work, we build businesses, and all these are platforms that reveal our abilities and expose our weaknesses. But by the time, we're not thinking about it in that way because we're not mature enough. As time goes on, responsibilities keep coming to you because of what you have kept on displaying. One thing leads to the other. You start becoming awakened to an old you because of the number of years or the experiences, the exposure that you have received. You start becoming awakened to another you, especially when you start evolving and it starts in the mind. And then you start recognizing abilities in you or things in you that people come to you for, or changes or things that you no longer are interested in, or responsibilities. Basically, it starts weighing down on you because the moment you tap into it, the moment you start activating your gifts, the moment you start doing things that you are inwardly endowed with, like richly blessed with, you start activating that is in you. Before you know it, you are attracted to the people, the places, the things that relate to the real you. And then you start walking this journey of leadership, getting promoted at work, being called to be the one to lead here and there. Yeah, you start saying, okay, there's something going on in my life. Just giving you a life cycle of a leader. And I've taken you through the rediscovery process. This is a point where you now want to go back to the drawing board after you have gone through life, challenges have hit you, obstacles, especially when you are at the level where you are burnt out and you don't understand why. You put in a lot of effort, you have the vision, you have direction, but you are burnt out. Now you're seeking clarity. Now you feel like some alignment has to take place here. Then you go back to that drawing board of rediscovering who you are. That is the rediscovery part of your identity. And then you start going through nurturing what you are now rediscovering, not what you have nurtured all your life, but you start nurturing what you have rediscovered. And before you know it, you are stepping into your true leadership authority. Maybe before you were being selected because of the abilities that you were displaying, the interviews that you were excelling in, basically the problems that you are solving here and there. But now this time around, a little bit different. It's your choice. You intentionally go for courses, acquire knowledge, develop disciplines, principles, and boundaries. You start making decisions that are very intentional because you see where you're headed. Intentional decisions. Living circles that don't really add value to you or are not suitable for your next level. You start seeing things totally different, and then you find yourself even passing on what you have acquired, the knowledge, especially when you are invited to talk. Can you speak to the ladies? Can you speak to the gentlemen? The moment people want to learn a process from you about this and this, then you know now you're entering into stewardship. That means you have been entrusted with possessions. Now, when you are entrusted with responsibilities, with roles, with possessions, even if it's inheritance, you need to learn how to steward it. You need to learn how to preserve. You need to overcome all the obstacles that are going to come your way as you steward that responsibility. You nurture. On Monday, we talked about being aware of it, just naming those responsibilities that come to you naturally, and you also solve them naturally without even thinking about it. And then consistency. That was yesterday. How do we ensure consistency of what has been entrusted to us? And in consistency lies the power. In consistency is where we continue the nurturing. Even if resistance comes, you overcome that resistance. And then now we are going to teaching, passing it on. But before we even go to passing it on, what are those hindrances that you experience as a leader? As you are trying to be consistent in this journey, you're going to experience resistance, hindrances, obstacles on your way. Thank you for joining the platform. You're all very welcome. Thank you for sparing your time. So yes, we started with what has been placed in your hands. Then we moved to consistency, the proof of stewardship, because the only way you can prove that I am entrusted with this is if you consistently do that you have been entrusted with, and you have to move it from this level to the other level before you go and build other projects. Yesterday we talked about building a system, a standard operating procedure in your business or in your workplace, and it requires you all. What do you do when it gets to you and there's nothing that's working? Maybe you need to refine it. You need to look at it in a totally different way so that you can be able to finish that before you go to the next. It's resisting getting done because more is required of you. When we said consistency is the proof of stewardship, we discovered that some of us build more instead of nurturing. I gave myself as an example yesterday. Instead of refining what I already had in my hands, thinking about what exactly can I do when I was experiencing discomfort or pain, or I failed at it, instead of working at it and seeing to it that it works, I would leave it hanging in the middle and I'll buy a pain relief food, be investing more. So instead of nurturing this that has been placed in you, you go and do something else. Mine was investing. And before you know it, you have like 3 investments, but not nurtured well. So as long as you're a leader and you know that you've been entrusted with this ability, maybe business acumen, you need to be able to nurture one thing at a time until you're able to teach it to another, until it has systems and structures, until it has the ability to stand on its own even when you're not there. You have to finish that, then go to the next, lest you're going to experience burnout. Some invest instead of refining. I've talked about that. Some expect more from others that they don't model. You cannot expect people to be punctual, people to be smart. We talked about all this yesterday, people to be loyal, diligent, when you are not modeling that as a leader. Today, I want us to go a little bit deeper, because as you are maintaining your consistency, sometimes inconsistency is going to come in. And how is it going to come in? That's what we're going to look at today. Have your pens and your papers, because I'm going to ask you these questions. You need to be able to carry out these assessments yourself. They are called reflection exercises. Inconsistency is not laziness. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not lack of clarity. Sometimes it's an inherited pattern. It's a tolerated dishonor. It's an unaddressed environment, a boundary that you have never enforced. And if you don't identify it, it will keep interrupting your stewardship. Remember the process that I gave you in December? You must go back to the root cause of why you have near success syndrome, these interferences in your life. If you do not name it, identify it, get to the root cause of it, it's going to keep interfering with your leadership, with your stewardship, with your life, and then you're going to pass it down to the next generation, to your children. You'll find them inheriting dishonor, inheriting patterns of being attracted to bad environments, wrong influences, lack of boundaries. That is just an example. Yours may be a different story. So the question is, what is that keeps interrupting you? Yesterday, after we had the session about consistency, we first had awareness, then consistency in stewardship, I realized that I have endured resistance as a vision bearer, rebuilding and rebuilding, rising and falling. And I sat down after the class. You know, when you have pushed through hardship and there's one pattern that keeps reappearing: dishonor, disrespect, interference. And you know what? I tolerated it. Until a friend asked me just one simple question: would you do the same if someone else was on the call? And you go and interrupt their call, or would you at least write a note or say, call me after? But she realized that every time we are on a call, there's interruption, and it disturbed her a lot. And it was like a Google Meet call. So she could see the continuous interruptions, and she said, what is that? But that was a way that God was revealing to me something that was hidden. It wasn't lack of discernment. It wasn't weakness that was in me. No, it was a tolerated pattern, something that I inherited that was normalized, and it had existed long before me, because it was then that I sat and I saw the patterns in people. The reason as to why I am giving you my own testimony, I want you to sit down as a leader and recognize the patterns. You have to be able to pay attention. When dishonor is normalized, you start adjusting your leadership to survive it. That breaks consistency, because instead of focusing on the assignment, you're managing disrespect. Instead of nurturing what is in your hands, you're recovering from interruption. Because I ask myself, I build and it goes down. I build again and it goes down. When you go down and have a retreat, a physical one, that's what I had. That was when I was awakened to what exactly interrupts my consistency. I couldn't have the answers. 5 years down the road, I get the answer yesterday. After yesterday's class of consistency. You see, when I say build inwardly first before you build outwardly. If you are a leader, you have the responsibility of stewarding the positions that you've been entrusted with. You must identify and be aware, then nurture before you teach, because your responsibility as a leader is to be a visionary, is to inspire others, is to lead. And in leadership, you have to be able to pass on. How are you going to pass on? You have to teach. You don't necessarily have to have a class, but you have to find your mode of operation of teaching as a leader. So in the process of teaching, you're going to receive healing. In some areas, some of these things are going to be revealed to you. So before you leave this world, before you leave that job, you need to be able to deal with those obstacles or hindrances or hidden patterns, negative patterns that you could have created or acquired as you are working or inherited. Those are topics we talked about in December. And you need to deal with them so that you don't leave them lingering in the system. Because whatever you leave is going to be passed on to whoever is going to take on your business or take after you in the role. They should be able to say, when Jacinta was in this position in this organization, when they were the CEO, all these things were cleared. All these little patterns were cleared. Because that's your job, to oversee, not to do the work, but to oversee the different departments and then be able to uproot those inconsistencies. So leaders cannot afford environments that constantly dishonor the weight that they carry. Please hear me on this one. You cannot afford environments that dishonor the weight you carry. You have to deal with it. It doesn't mean that you go away. Deal with it. Because what you tolerate will eventually train people how to treat your stewardship. They will dishonor it. They will not value it. So brings me to the reflective questions. What pattern keeps interrupting your consistency? You can answer now or you can answer later. Give you an example. Is it distraction that interrupts your consistency? What is that pattern that keeps interrupting your consistency? Is it financial instability? Is it people not respecting your time? Is it family interference? Is it emotional instability? Is that the same obstacle that appears repeatedly, that is not random, is a pattern? Second question, what behavior do you tolerate that you would never model? My friend asked me, would you interfere with someone who is on a call? That was when I was awakened to. No, I wouldn't. Because the person is on a call. I'm respecting them. They say, not more than twice have we been interrupted. And the interruption is not fun. If it's like a second or 2 seconds or 30 seconds, that's okay. But continuous interruption? And there's nothing wrong with the person interrupting. There's something wrong with you. It's something wrong that you need to, what is this pattern telling me? The person is communicating to you something that requires your attention. So do you expect, for example, punctuality, but allow lateness around yourself? What behavior do you tolerate that you would never model as a leader? Do you expect preparation, but allow interruptions during your preparation time? Do you expect honor, but normalize disrespect? Answer that question. What is that behavior that you have tolerated or that you have been tolerating that you would never model as a leader? Because leaders teach people how to treat them by what they permit. Okay? Third question, is this obstacle personal or inherited? You see the questions one after the other. When you answer 1, then you can answer 3. Is this obstacle personal or inherited? Has dishonor, for example, followed your family line? Has instability been normalized in your upbringing? Have you been taught to endure disrespect instead of confronting it? Some struggles did not start with you, but they can end with you. I hope you're writing. Question 4. What do you adjust in yourself to survive dysfunction? What do you adjust in yourself to survive dysfunction? Let me give you an example. I always give these examples so that you can understand the context of this question. What do you adjust in yourself to survive dysfunction? Do you lower your standards, for example? Do you shrink your voice? Do you work around chaos instead of confronting it? What do you do to overcompensate? Do you do more or do you withdraw? We dealt with survival mode in January. Survival is settling for less. Survival is nothing to do. We just go on. Question 5. What boundary must you establish to protect what is in your hands? What is that boundary that you must establish to protect what is in your hands? For example, I have set a boundary. No interruptions during my calls. Why have I been even tolerating it? Set clear expectations for your teams. You can set a boundary of no last-minute instability. No, if you've not prepared, that's not my emergency. Don't give me those last-minute instabilities that are going to disorganize me. Organize yourself. And there must be consequences for dishonor. Stewardship requires protection. Boundaries protect stewardship. So, we talked about awareness, talked about consistency, and today I've talked about what hinders consistency, or what are those interruptions that you have tolerated. It's not just about discipline, but it's about protection. You have seen the questions, how they have been flowing. It's about protection. You cannot nurture what you constantly allow to be dishonored. So some of us may think that we struggle with consistency, but the truth is, you struggle with tolerated dysfunction. Awareness tells you what is in your hands. Consistency proves you have it because you keep doing it repeatedly. And I asked you to identify what you keep doing on repeat mode. But boundaries protect it. And this month is stewardship. I wrote a book, Boundaries with Integrity. 10 chapters. It's an ebook. If you're interested, stewardship requires awareness, consistency, protection from repeated interruption. Awareness, consistency, protection from repeated interruption. If I have been entrusted with something valuable, I must also confront what dishonors it. That should be your take today. So I guess I'll see you tomorrow. February, we are focusing on stewardship. Thank you so much for coming on this live. Thank you for sparing your time. I really do appreciate that. And see you tomorrow. Love you. Bye-bye.